Of all the men in the UFO field today, the name of Dr. J. Allen Hynek tops the list. The former Blue Book investigator for the Air Force and current head of the astronomy department at Northwestern University has heard stories about what is hidden at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And when told about the woman in the security section, he said he could sympathize with her situation.
Well, the story has come up a number of times. When I was at Blue Book, I never saw anything in Blue Book relating to it, but then Blue Book was the public relations aspect of things anyway. The story has come up a number of times, but I never was able to substantiate it in any manner that I would call a scientific manner. But now what you tell me now is another additional bit of evidence. I was completely disbelieving the story, and I still disbelieve it, because that's my nature not to believe anything unless I have firm evidence. But it's a very interesting thing you say there, and but there's nothing, you really can't go anyplace, can you? Because even Carr can't divulge those people, because, or if he does, they'll simply deny everything. Because I've had to sign those same sort of, when I was with Blue Book, I had to sign the security arrangement saying that if I ever said anything, I would be prosecuted to the fullest extent. So I'm in the same boat, you see.
Because of his expertise in the field of UFOs, Dr. Hynek is called to the scene of every major UFO sighting. He was summoned to Pascagoula, Mississippi last October, hours after two shipyard workers, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, stumbled into a sheriff's office and said they had been taken aboard a flying saucer.
I went down to Pascagoula completely negative, but I worked with those men for quite a while. I listened to tapes that had been taken when they didn't know they were being taped. I saw how Charlie behaved under hypnosis, and finally the lie detector test. All of those things convinced me that he was not making it up. They had had an experience, period.
But you can't determine whether they actually saw a flying saucer or were taken aboard one.
No, I couldn't at all. There's no way that I know of in which we could determine that. It's like if you tell me that you dreamt of purple peach trees last night. What can I do about it?
Well, you have to go on the assumption that he is indeed telling the truth.
Well, yeah. You have to then judge by his past reputation, how he's regarded in the community. Would he have any reason to do it? All that sort of thing. So, I just don't know about that. Of course, it fits a pattern. You see, that's not an isolated case. We have a catalog now of well over 800 such cases.
On October 23rd of this year, Charles Hickson, one of the men involved in that incident at Pascagoula, invited WWDC newsman Rudolph Brewington to his home in Goshen, Mississippi. That's just north of Pascagoula. And Hickson recalled his experience.
Last year on October the 16th, in the fall of the year, Calvin Parker and myself, at that time we were employed by F.B. Walker & Son Shipyard in Pascagoula. And sometime during the day on October 11th, we decided to go fishing after work, something that I do, quite often when I'm not working, is fishing. So after we got off work, probably 4:30, I think, we were working 9 hours a day. I came home and to get my fishing gear, and we wouldn't go out in a boat because we were going to the banks of the river and fish from the banks for speckled trout and redfish. So we got our bait, and we got to the river and tried several spots, and the fish didn't seem to be biting. So there was one more spot that we were going to try. In the past, I'd caught fish there a lot of times at the old Saltpeter shipyard. It's an old abandoned shipyard. So we went back up the river to the old shipyard, and we were fishing from a pier off of a wharf, you might say, on the banks of the river there. And it had become dark by that time. We do quite a bit of fishing after dark, down here in that time of the year. So I don't know what attracted my attention, where I had reached around to get more bait, which was sitting behind us, or I heard some kind of zipping-like sound, like air or steam or something escaping from a pipe. And as I turned around, I saw some two blue flashing lights, or either pulsating lights, I'm not sure. And it seemed like it was some type of craft, and it seemed like it was almost down to the ground then. In fact, it seemed to be about a couple of feet, above the ground. It just hovered there. So Calvin had turned by this time, and he was looking at it too. And really, I didn't know what to do. I was just spellbound there for a few minutes, and then almost immediately, some type of opening appeared in the end that was toward us, with what I assumed to be the front end. And the light that come outside, it was real bright light. And three things appeared in the doorway of the craft, and they seemed to just glide out of the craft. They never touched the ground. They seemed to just glide across. It must have been 25 or 30 feet from us, or maybe a little further than that. And they came to us, just glided over to us, and two of them took me by the arms from the side, and one took a hold of Calvin, and I seen Calvin go limp, and I didn't know it then, but he had fainted. So they carried me inside the craft, and the light was almost blinding inside. In fact, for about 3 or 4 days, I had something like a bad welding flash in my eyes. And I can't recall, or I can't remember just what was on the inside, simply because the light was so bright that I just couldn't make out what it was. But I didn't see any tables or chairs, and the room seemed to be round. Of course, that could have been because the light seemed to be glowing from the walls and the overhead and the ceiling. But they carried me, about the middle of the room, and we would just seem to be suspended there. I couldn't move. I didn't have any feelings, no sensation of any feel. And it seemed something like a big eye. I keep referring to it as an eye because it was about size for a small baseball. In the end, it was focused toward me, was a different color or a different light. And it seemed to come directly out from the wall, and it came within 6 or 8 inches of my face, and it remained there for a few minutes, and then very few minutes, and then it went over my entire body. I'm assuming it did, because when it went down like this, I seemed to be suspended there, and the next time I seen it, it was coming back up over this way. So I assumed that it went over my entire body. Well, it came back in front of my face and stayed there for a few more minutes, and then it seemed to just go right back into the wall. And these things, the way they were holding me, I was elevated, because they weren't as tall as me, and they were upright, and I was elevated like this, and I could move my eyes, only thing I could move, and I could see that they had released me. And I don't know where they went, whether they went outside the craft or another room or compartment, but they didn't come in front of me. And they left me that way for a few minutes, I don't know how long. And then after a while, I seen them then when they come back to the side of me and took hold of me again, and they carried me back outside the craft, and we were still just gliding. I wasn't touching anything that I know of, and they seemed to just glide back out to where they had taken me from and put me back down on the ground. Well, when they did, I fell because my legs were weak and they gave way on me. And it was this time that I seen Calvin again. He was standing there. He was standing facing the river with his arms outstretched, and he was almost in shock. Or he seemed to appear to me at that time something was wrong with him. But so I was trying to make my way toward him, and I was crawling. I couldn't get my legs to working. But before I got to him, the strength of what it was came back to my legs, and I was getting up on my feet, and I heard the same sound I'd heard before, a zipping sound. And I glanced around, and I saw the blue flashing lights, and the craft was just gone, just almost instantly. And I made it to Calvin, and I shook him and was calling to him, and it took me several minutes to get him where I could even talk to him, with any sense, and he was going in shock. And these things that came out of the craft, they were about 5 or 5 foot 4 inches tall. And they didn't have a neck. The head seemed